Shasta Lake levels increasing after the recent storms. An update on where the levels are, where they're expected to go. Plus, with storms flooding areas of our North State this week, more residents are asking questions about flooding insurance. Then the doggy days doggy dash are back in town, and we're spending days talking about the dogs. We'll tell you how you and your dog can get involved. All that and more starts right now.
This is KRCR News Channel 7 at 6:30, the North States News.
Well, good evening. Thank you for joining us tonight on this amazing Thursday. I'm Dylan Brown. An area that's seen an improvement with the recent storms is the Shasta Lake level. That's all from the Bureau of Reclamation. Currently sits 50 feet below the top of the dam, resulting in minimum flow. This in turn has helped flood control efforts, with the focus now being to retain the water. However, while speaking with the area manager, we were told that with more rain on the way, monitoring those levels is critical.
We've come up 100 feet since the 1st of December. Now we're only 50 feet from the top, we were never expecting this. We're still at minimum flow, so all the major flooding downstream, Shasta's been able to benefit from not having to do flood ops. We still got enough room that we're not going to go into flood ops, but we are expecting the lake to come up another 15 feet in the next week.
Ooh. He added that at the moment, things are looking good for that lake. The good news, all the recent rain and snow helped the drought statewide, not just here at home. Here's the latest drought monitor released today. Only 8% of the state in severe drought state, the dark orange including nearly all of Modoc County. A year ago, that was 93% of the state. As you can see with the tan color on that map, most of the North State still in a moderate drought stage. Currently accounts for just about a third of our state. And mandatory water restrictions are being lifted for nearly 7 million people across Southern California. The restrictions were implemented in June of last year, this amid historic drought conditions. The Metropolitan Water District of Southern California says those winter storms helped alleviate the shortage of water supplies. And flooding, it impacted several North State residents in multiple counties over the last few days, and it left some concern about what to do next for proper home protection. We spoke with the George Peterson Insurance Agency. We learned that one tactic could involve acquiring flood insurance, which allows homeowners to protect against property damage due to flooding. However, he says certain criteria must be met.
So flood insurance is excluded on all standard homeowners policies. No matter what carrier you're buying from, whether it's State Farm, Nationwide, Lloyd's of London, it's all going to be excluded every single policy. So what you'd have to do is you'd have to buy flood coverage specifically on a policy, and unless it's required by a lender, you would have to wait 30 days in order to buy coverage. So you can't just see the storm coming, all of a sudden call your insurance agent and be like, hey, I want to get flood insurance today. It just doesn't work that way.
He added that evaluating property risk is a good first step. Let's step on over live on the roads in Butte County. It's Highway 32. Looks like the roads are dry for now. Let's check in with First Alert forecaster Preston Dunyan, because for the month of March, we've seen quite a bit of rain, haven't we, Preston?
Absolutely, Dylan, and those dry roads are a rarity this month so far. You can see our monthly rain totals for Redding, Chico, Red Bluff, and Oroville here, looking at over 4 inches in most spots. Oroville a little bit trailing behind, but that value in Redding is 295% of normal rainfall for this time in the month. So incredible start here. That's why our drought monitor is improving, and that's why those lake levels keep going up. What's also been going up this week is those temperatures. We're still sitting at 66 in Willows here in the 6 o'clock hour. That's pretty impressive. 60s across the valley floor. You see lots of 50s and 40s in the higher elevations, but we've got another beautiful day on tap, and that's because skies are clear. That is the pattern, but you can see behind me storm activity hanging out over the Pacific, waiting for its chance to return. So as that pushes in, brings rain, and that rain will be fairly steady throughout next week, but those 2 more dry days are on tap. I'll walk you through the timing on when that rain arrives and how much you're going to see in your First Alert forecast in just a few minutes.
All right, looking forward to it. We'll come back to you, Preston. All right, let's look to crime. Anderson police arrested a sex offender from Washington early this morning. It's happened around 7:45. 41-year-old John Travis Trotter Parker contacted by police for illegally camping within city limits. After checking his records, police realized he was a registered sex offender out of Washington that failed to re-register when moving to California. Officers also say Trotter Parker was carrying a meth pipe with a usable amount of meth inside it. Trotter Parker arrested and booked into Shasta County Jail on several charges. Well, a Redding man was arrested for child pornography after his wife found a secret camera used for recording people in their guest bathroom. Police arresting 34-year-old Ryan Ravito during a traffic stop earlier today. An arrest warrant had been issued for Revito's arrest after his wife found a hidden camera and hard drive in their guest bathroom, turned it over to authorities. After reviewing the hard drive, officials found more than 900 images of child pornography and multiple videos from the hidden camera, both children and adults who did not know they were being filmed. Revito was booked in a Shasta County jail on several charges related to child pornography and the surreptitious recording of an identifiable person who was undressed. New tonight, a man arrested after running from police early this morning. This was in Chico. It's from Chico Police. They say about 8 in the morning, officers responded to a person reportedly carrying a gun near a bike path off Highway 99. On their way, they were told there was a second person involved, one of them firing the gun towards a fence nearby. Officers got there, found them in a car. The officers approached them. The man who was shooting the rifle ran north just along the bike path. Officers would arrest eventually 36-year-old Miles Lewis for delaying a police officer and violating post-release community supervision. The other person involved let go without charges. Officers did find an airsoft rifle in the vehicle upon investigation. Looking large tonight, Governor Gavin Newsom announcing today the state is on track to cut homelessness by 15% by the year 2025. Originally, the state's plans projected a 2% cut, which Newsom says was, quote, unacceptable. The state has allocated $3 billion for reducing homelessness already. Newsom announcing he has proposed an additional $1 billion to continue the fight. Along with the funding, the state will provide 1,200 tiny houses between 4 major cities. United Way Northern California, along with the city of Redding and Pathways to Housing, are already ahead of the curve and are preparing to launch their own micro shelters in Redding. United Way Communications Specialist Abby Ann Lacasio says it's great to see the state tackle the problem. They hope to also see funding for rural California.
We know that rural California also deals with homelessness, and so we would like to see some of that funding, and our hope is to see some of that funding reach the rural parts of California as well. But overall, we're very hopeful that we will start to see more solutions for homelessness in California.
The micro shelter community off South Market is planned to open this coming Monday.
She's both a very fun-loving character and also a very dignified character, and her want throughout the play is to dignify herself.
That's Mariah Hardy talking about her role as Eliza Doolittle in the play Pygmalion, put on by the Bethel Conservatory of the Arts, that opens next week. And the Doggy Dash is back in town. Ruff. We'll tell you how you and your dog can get involved. The time right now, 6:36. I'm Dylan Brown. This is your North State News. Heard that right. This week in Haven Humane Society hosted their 7th annual Walk Run, a fundraiser for the animal shelter that they're inviting the community to participate in. It's a 5K or 10K this Saturday. The Doggy Dash encourages our community to bring their dogs and participate. Haven Humane Director of Development told KRCR they're expecting around 150 participants this year.
Part of the reason why we do events like this is to connect with the community. We're out off 273, not everybody makes it here, and so we want to be present and with the community that supports us. And so it's just a time for us to all be together to celebrate supporting the animals here at Haven. 100% of the proceeds go towards sheltering, of course, but also their medical needs. So many animals come in here, they were hit by a car, or they were injured in some way, and so they go straight into our veterinary hospital, so it pays for a lot of the medical expenses.
You're encouraged to dress your dogs up, and the best dress will actually be awarded prizes as well as some complimentary treats. This event kicks off Saturday, 9 a.m. at Turtle Bay. The run will go along the Sacramento River. Bethel Conservatory of the Arts is putting on Pygmalion next week, and the performances are open to everyone. Mike Mangus has the story.
How do you do, Miss Doolittle?
Colonel Pickering, is it not?
The play Pygmalion features Bethel students. Mariah Hardy is one of the 2 women portraying Eliza Doolittle. She says her role is to portray a character who's trying to go from a street ragamuffin to a refined woman.
Along the way, the question is asked, what makes a lady? Is it her status? Is it her class? Or is it the belief of those around her? Is it how she's treated? And we find out through the 2 different avenues. Henry Higgins treats her one way, Colonel Pickering treats her another way. And at the end, we find out what really made her a lady.
Jonah Gilmore is Professor Henry Higgins. He told me speaking with a proper received pronunciation, RP, a standard British accent, is a matter of where you position your jaw.
That's just the new small talk. To do a person in means to kill them. Once you kind of master the muscular placement of the accent, it actually comes quite easy. So for me, I think probably for the first couple runs, it was like, okay, stay British, stay British. But as I rehearsed more, it became in my body. So I'm able to like switch more, switch on and then off, switch on and then off. A lot easier without having to think about it.
And that was Mike Mangus reporting. Pygmalion opens next Wednesday, March 22nd, runs through April 1st. There are evening shows at 7, matinees at 2. Tickets are $25. General admission, $15 for students at the Playhouse on the corner of East and Locust Streets in downtown Reading.
And we'll take 2 more runs at days that actually feel like spring. Spring starts, though, on a cool and wet note. I've got all the details in your first look forecast after this break.
Veteran community, unfortunately, there are a lot of them who are homeless. KRCR's Anna Montemore ended up meeting one man who finally is off the streets for the first time in over 16 years.
They said, you have to get in off the streets, Dave. It's getting too rough out there. We see you deteriorating, sliding down.
David Cox is a military veteran who returned here to Shasta County after things took a turn with his health.
I've bounced around from home to home with my grandparents, my father, and my brother and my mother, which all have deceased. Then I ended up being a chronic homeless person.
That is when he met Nation's Finest, a veterans organization here in Reading.
Nation's Finest, they stood there for me. They got me in emergency housing when I needed it after I got out of the hospital. And they gave me different things to do. They like get an ID. They lined me up with what I needed to do.
Helping many local veterans get connected to housing and resources.
We help them catch up on their rent if they're behind, and the veterans that are homeless, we will help them find permanent housing.
As well as helping those who qualify to pay rent, utilities, and other housing needs.
Amazing process when they come in here. The transformation from being extremely stressed, on a nightly basis, where to sleep, and then see the end result when they get housed, how excited they are. It's amazing.
And Cox is one of those veterans who puts a smile on their faces. Cox has now been off the streets and not homeless for the last 2 weeks, and through his time being housed has found a new love in life.
I love that I have a kitchen because I make homemade bread and I make all these other things that I normally couldn't make. It's my love, and it's how I spread the love.
And he is not the only veteran ringing the victory bell, literally.
When our veterans get permanently housed, they will come in and ring the bell, and we all get around and kind of congratulate them and clap. And
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Nation's Finest says that they have already rang that bell 7 times this month, and they hope to add a few more veterans to that list.
That's awesome. David's just one of the many veterans Nation's Finest helps throughout Shasta County. It's a good organization. To get more information on them, how you might be able to get involved, you can go to krcrtv.com. Well, it's time to chime. Speaking of ringing bells, look at that. Look, chasing sunsets tonight. That's what we're doing. This was submitted by Karina Vang, captioned Snippets of the Sunset. Alliteration. Beautiful. It's part of a 30-minute sunset southbound on I-5, she says. I love it. Thank you so much, Karina. Let's head over to the Weather Center. First alert forecaster, Preston Dunyan. What do you have for us, Preston?
That sunset gets later every single day. I remember in January we had sunset cam in the 5 o'clock show, and now you got to catch it in the 7 at 7 with Dylan and I a little later. But for now, let's take a look at your Friday. Temperatures right around 55 in Trinity Center. Tomorrow, 59 in Hayfork. Light winds, the story there out to the west. As we slide further east, you'll see a mix of temperatures mostly in the 50s. Altura should potentially jump into that group, but I've got them at 49 for now. You're looking at about 52 in Fall River Mills and Chester. As we settle into the valley floor, this is where temperatures will peak for the day. 67 in Reading and Palisadro as well as Anderson. Just a degree cooler in the city of Shasta Lake as well as Red Bluff. Further south, things are pretty similar. You get your kicks on I-5 at 66. That's a little twist on that there. Corning, Orland, and Willows all there at 66. 65 for the Butte County lowlands and 59 in Paradise. Now, this is a version of our precision cast, and I usually show this graphic, but I failed to explain it. So let me walk you through this. This is our upper air heights, and it gives us a good sense of the pattern that's on the way. And you can see kind of those warmer colors and that general shape of the ridge. And the ridge has given us those clear conditions as well as those dry conditions that we have seen with warmer temperatures too. So it's been a nice little boost, but it's not going to last very long. You can start to see it starting to wane as we get into tomorrow evening. That's when those clouds start to filter in, and then comes the trough. Those deeper, cooler blue colors, a sign of unsettled weather as well as cooler temperatures at the surface. And as we slide into Sunday, you see a weak little disturbance kind of push its way through, and that's the first sign of things to come. But then this deeper trough cuts through as we move towards the middle of next week, and that'll bring our temperatures down significantly. Now, the bulk of that storm looks to head further to our south, so it won't be as bad as it may look, but we are going to continue to see active weather throughout this week and into next week. So that's what the pattern is. Let's see what that looks like near the surface. First of all, those clouds arriving tomorrow, mostly just clouds, will stay dry until Sunday morning. That rain arrives, and it continues to be showers and sun breaks all the way throughout next week. You get here to Wednesday, we're still seeing rain at times, but there's breaks. So that's the good news, and we'll continue to see that. Low snow levels for the higher elevations, so that is good news. We're not going to see melting so much as just adding to that snowpack, and we certainly will with temperatures below normal in the extended as well as above normal precipitation. Although as we get a little further into March, that's shifting more towards our southeast. So that's what you got to keep in mind there. Your 7-day forecast, 2 identically beautiful days, maybe a little cloudier on Saturday. 65 in Chico there, cooling off to the upper to mid 50s next week with showers and sunbreaks all the way across the board there. And in Redding, it's showers and sunbreaks, maybe better chances for just steady showers and cloudy skies your Sunday and Monday. But temperatures are tumbling from 66 to 55 late next week. Our average high in winter, right around this, the December solstice rather, is 55, and that's our high here at the end of March. Crazy stuff, but we'll be nice and warm for the next couple days so you can step outside. After that, you might want to be inside behind a window, and I'll let you give a look at the weather window for now.
Weather Window, presented by the National Weather Desk.
Winter meets spring in South Carolina as a thick frost coats purple phlox flowers in Myrtle Beach. No evidence of winter in Austin, Texas, where the leaves are out a bit earlier than usual. Heavy rains in Utah means water is flowing and falling in beautiful Zion National Park. And a magnificent photo of Washington, D.C. taken just before sunrise this morning.
For more content like this, like the National Weather Desk on Facebook.
Up next, is the clock ticking down on TikTok? We've got a Sinclair report up next. And later on in our 7 at 7 cover story, is the U.S. on the brink of a financial crisis, or the 2 recent bank failures a fluke in our system? We're diving into the details later tonight. U.S. and the European Union in banning the Chinese-owned video sharing app TikTok from government mobile phones on security grounds. British authorities described the ban as a, quote, precautionary move amid growing concerns the app's parent company, ByteDance, could give user data to the Chinese government, or that the Chinese government could use the app to push propaganda. China denies any intention to do that. The UK's ban does not apply, though, to personal devices. Here closer to home, though, TikTok's future in America, it's on shaky ground yet again. The Biden administration calling for the app to separate from its Chinese parent company. National correspondent Kayla Gaskins reports.
The clock could be ticking down for TikTok.
There's a real concern about one of our most popular social media apps being owned by the Chinese.
That's a fact. The Biden administration now threatening to ban the popular social media app in the U.S. if Chinese parent company ByteDance doesn't sell their shares.
Just about anything that TikTok collects could be accessible to the Chinese government. We don't really know the full extent of what the Chinese government could use this data for or why they're so interested in it.
A TikTok spokesperson responding with a statement to Reuters saying, quote, if protecting national security is the objective, divestment doesn't solve the problem.
Divestment is separation in name only. At the end of the day, that troublesome relationship still exists.
Others argue divestment is enough.
Well, I think the reality is that a ban was never very likely or never really the best solution. The government has to threaten a ban in order to achieve divestment.
Former President Donald Trump tried and failed to ban the app back in 2020. U.S. courts blocking his attempt. TikTok has around 100 million users in the United States. The vast majority are in younger demographics. U.S. Commerce Secretary Gina Raimondo telling Bloomberg, quote, the politician in me thinks you're gonna lose every voter under 35 forever. Some senators on the left and the right say their priorities are clear.
Our obligation is to ensure that
the security of our nation.
I've always put national security ahead of everything, was sort of violating their constitutional rights.
TikTok's global CEO will testify on Capitol Hill next Thursday. Both sides expected to grill the executive on their data collection practices and the relationship with Chinese parent company ByteDance. In Washington, I'm Kayla Gaskins.
Well, Americans lost more than $10.2 billion last year to a variety of internet scams. This is all from the FBI data. In 2022, the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center received more than 800,000 complaints. That's more than 2,000 a day. It's a 5% decrease from the year previous, but the total losses grew from $6.9 billion to $10.2 billion, the highest we've seen in 5 years. Most common crimes involved phishing, sending scam emails that look legitimate, requesting money or your personal information. Other common internet scams included data breaches and ransomware. The report says the FBI has a 73% success rate in getting victims their money back. Coming up next, is there water on the moon? NASA says yes. We're talking space when we come back. Stick around. NASA says the moon has much more water on it than they once believed. Now they have a map to show it. Look at this. NASA shared a map of the moon's water yesterday. It's the first detailed wide area map of water distribution on the lunar surface. It was pieced together in a study using NASA's joint project with Germany's space agency. As you can see, researchers believe much of the lunar water can be found on the moon's south pole. The darker the blue area you see, the more concentration of water. See, the water is in the soil, tends to shy away from sunlight and favors more cold areas. They note water may also be found as ice crystals or molecules bonded to other materials. NASA says this is important because the lunar water could one day be a critical resource for establishing a long-term human presence on the moon. Bottle that up and sell it. I'm in.
Yeah, would you drink it?
Yes.
Yes, okay, yeah.
Yes.
I mean, the rocks on the moon are almost as old as the solar system, so that's going to be some good old water. Maybe it ages
water.
like wine. Yeah, tomorrow, beautiful day out there for wine or any other beverage to enjoy responsibly. 67 in Redding, 65 in Chico, mostly sunny throughout the day.
I love it. You can buy it at Costco for $20 for $12. All right, thank you for joining us. Come back in 7 seconds. 7 at 7, flooding forcing folks out of their homes just a few days ago. We spoke to the Shasta County Sheriff's Office, finding out how exactly the evacuations unfold. In our cover story of the night, is the U.S. on the brink of a financial crisis? How lawmakers are responding to the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank. Plus, a once homeless veteran now has a place to call home. All thanks to one local organization. All that and more starts right now.
This is the 7 at 7 on KRCR, the North States News.
Well, good evening. Welcome to the 7 at 7 tonight. I'm Dylan Brown. Hope you're having a good day so far. Well, there were multiple evacuation warnings, even orders during Tuesday's flooding throughout Shasta County. That's where we start with our top 7 stories of the night.
On Tuesday, there were multiple evacuation warnings and even an evacuation order here in Shasta County due to flooding. Now, the sheriff's office tells me that they prepare for events like these by watching the forecast, informing the public days in advance, but most importantly, they get ready by staying ready year-round. Public Information Officer for the Sheriff's Department, Tim Mapes, says their deputies respond to calls, see which areas are going to be the most affected, and then they make the evacuation calls. Mapes says they did have a search and rescue team ready on Tuesday, but they were not deployed, and their deputies were able to assist the public as needed.
Well, the men and women of the Sheriff's Office and, all of our allied agencies, that's the job that they do. They serve the community, and they should be commended for that. And they certainly did that the other night. They do it every day.
Shasta County is no stranger to natural disasters, from flooding to wildfires. So Mapes says this is why it's important for the public to also be prepared year-round and listen when it's time to leave.
Even before there's ever a warning or an order that's needed to be issued, you need to be prepared in any eventuality that it's going to happen.
He also says it's important for everyone to be signed up for stuff like Code Red and Alert FM. That way, if there's ever an evacuation warning or order in your neighborhood, you're prepared. Reporting in Redding, Mason Carroll, the North States News.
Well, it's been a busy few days for emergency response officials and volunteers in our North State. The volunteer team with the Butte County Sheriff's search and rescue teams had to make 70 medical and rescue calls in the last 2 weeks alone. Less than a half a dozen of those water rescues. This includes one driver who got trapped in the water on River Road west in Chico Wednesday. Everyone who had to be rescued from the water, though, did survive. They say right now they're using the drier weather to regroup and plan to shift some of their focus to flood response. They're urging people once again to pay attention to road closures because it is easier to get swept away than you might think. They say they have a strong focus on Ord Ferry Road in Chico. What you might not know, though, about the search and rescue team, it's made entirely up of volunteers. They don't get state, they don't get federal funding to operate, and they run entirely on donations. They say they're always looking for volunteers who are willing to go through their training process. Well, Governor Gavin Newsom announcing today the state's on track to cut homelessness by 15% by the year 2025. Now, originally the state's plan had projected a 2% cut, which Newsom says was unacceptable. The state has allocated $3 billion for reducing homelessness already. Newsom announced he's proposed an additional $1 billion to continue the fight. Along with the funding, the state will provide 1,200 tiny houses between 4 major cities. United Way Northern California, along with the city of Redding and Pathways to Housing, already ahead of the curve and are preparing to launch their own micro shelters in Redding. United Way Communications Specialist Abby Ann Lacasio says it's a great time to see the state tackle the problem, and they hope to see some more funding for rural California. The micro shelter community off South Market is planned to open this upcoming Monday.
David Cox is a military veteran who returned here to Shasta County after things took a turn with his health.
I've bounced around from home to home from my grandparents, my father, and my brother and my mother, which all have deceased. Then I ended up being a chronic homeless person.
That is when he met Nation's Finest, a veterans organization here in Redding.
Nation's Finest, they stood there for me. They got me in emergency housing when I needed it after I got out of the hospital. And they gave me different things to do. They get an ID. They lined me up with what I needed to do.
As well as helping those who qualify to pay rent, utilities, and other housing needs.
Amazing process when they come in here. The transformation from being extremely stressed, on a nightly basis, where to sleep, and then see the end result when they get housed, how excited they are. It's amazing.
And Cox is one of those veterans who puts a smile on their faces. Cox has now been off the streets and not homeless for the last 2 weeks. And he is not the only veteran ringing the victory bell, literally.
When our veterans get permanently housed, they will come in and ring the bell, and we all get around and kind of congratulate them and clap. And oh my gosh. Yeah.
Nation's Finest says that they have already rang that bell 7 times this month, and they hope to add a few more veterans to that list.
Friday is St. Paddy's Day, and local law enforcement is preparing for what should be a busy day. According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, back in 2020, the period between March 16th and March 18th saw more than a third, 36% to be exact, of crash fatalities involve a drunk driver. As expected, Redding police will be extra vigilant on the roads Friday night, given the circumstances.
We will probably see an influx more of patrons in our downtown establishments, the bars and restaurants, as well as people partaking in St. Patrick's Day festivities around the town. We do see an uptick in DUI-related arrests, DUI contacts, even alcohol-related calls for service, whether they be drunken publics, fights, and things like that. We will have roving patrol cars as well, along with our checkpoint that will be out in the area and looking for impaired drivers.
As you heard Sergeant DiMatteo mention, RPD will have a DUI checkpoint set up at an undisclosed location. I also spoke with the California Highway Patrol on Thursday. They told me they will also have additional patrols on Friday, but the brunt of law enforcement activity will come from RPD and the Sheriff's Office. Be safe tomorrow, everybody. For the North States News, I'm Sam Caventi.
Well, the American Red Cross is celebrating its North State volunteers. Today, the Red Cross celebrating some of their 125 North State volunteers at the Manzanita Place in Chico. This is one of the few events in the Northern California region chapter of the Red Cross that holds this month, actually Red Cross Month. We spoke to one of the organizers today who say there would have been more people out there tonight, but they're out responding to the floods. Of course, it's just one of the disasters that volunteers have had to deal with recently. Every 8 minutes, a member of the Red Cross team responds to some sort of disaster. And in Northern California, they respond to a home fire on average about once a week.
How do you do, Miss Doolittle?
Colonel Pickering, is it not?
The play Pygmalion features Bethel students. Mariah Hardy is one of the two women portraying Eliza Doolittle. She says her role is to portray a character who's trying to go from a street ragamuffin to a refined woman.
Along the way, the question is asked, what makes a lady? Is it her status? Is it her class? Or is it the belief of those around her? Is it how she's treated? And we find out through the two different avenues. Henry Higgins treats her one way, Colonel Pickering treats her another way. And at the end, we find out what really made her a lady.
Jonah Gilmore is Professor Henry Higgins. He told me speaking with a proper received pronunciation, RP, a standard British accent, is a matter of where you position your jaw.
That's just the new small talk. To do a person in means to kill them.
Once you kind of master the muscular placement of the accent, it actually comes quite easy. So for me, I think probably for the first couple runs, it was like, okay, stay British, stay British. But as I rehearsed more, it became in my body. So I'm able to like switch more, switch on and then off, switch on and then off. A lot easier without having to think about it.
We got a lot more coming tonight on the 7 at 7. A feud that ends in murder. The man questions it on a game show. We're diving into the details and what's trending. And you're looking live over a beautiful sunset on our Hasserud Blas sky cam. Beautiful. After weeks of storms, we have a little sunshine in our future, but something else comes up right behind it. We've got our full forecast in just a bit. Time right now, 7:08. I'm Dylan Brown. This is your North State News. Now it's National Panda Day. Here's a live look at the panda that lives at the Smithsonian Zoo. And I'm going to be honest with you, 30 seconds before we took this live, he was right there in the corner, but he went and hid a little bit. He's a little shy. Fun fact, pandas have more in common than raccoons with raccoons than bears. They have more in common with raccoons than bears. But DNA studies are now making a more widely accepted case that pandas might be actually true bears. Whatever they are, almost everyone agrees pandas are cute, adorable, and worth saving. There are thought to be fewer than 2,000 left in the wild in their native China. Another 100 live in zoos around the world, like that one right there. He was there before we took that, I swear. I love it. Pandas are the best. All right, let's stop talking about pandas. Let's go over to KRCRTV.com and check out in case you missed it tonight. Up first, in Shasta County, all flood evac warnings and orders lifted yesterday, but not before damage was done to Anderson neighborhoods. Folks living off Hill Street near Highway 273 placed under that evacuation order Tuesday night due to extensive flooding, but it's since been lifted. Yesterday, water continued lining the road's edge along with debris and some downed tree branches. Those who live out there say the inside of their homes has been trashed and covered in mud. Staying in Shasta, a daring rescue made by local agencies. Take a look at this. This video from the Shasta County Sheriff's Office. A grandmother and her 10-month-old grandchild had to be rescued from their home in Palisadro after floodwaters started rising, trapping them there. Sheriff's deputies and dive team volunteers able to make it out to them via boat before bringing them safely back to dry land. And in Trinity County, the search and rescue team helping an elderly woman in the Kettenpalm area by trudging through snow, delivering her much-needed medication. Conditions were so bad out there, the team had trouble getting their equipment through it all. But fortunately, a local resident was able to give them a hand with some of their own heavy equipment, making it possible to get that necessary medication delivered. You can find a wonderful story like that or any story. Get all the day's news anytime you want. It's easy to do with our KRCR News Channel 7 News app. All you got to do is search KRCR in your device's app store. Outside of that app store, though, is the internet. Let's head there and find out what's trending tonight. Up first tonight, kind of dark and kind of strange, talking Family Feud. One contestant now getting charged with murdering his wife and one count of home invasion. Back in 2019, he was on the great show Family Feud. Host Steve Harvey put him on the spot when it was his turn to answer the question, what's your biggest regret at your wedding? His answer was saying I do. Fast forward now, he's being held without bail. His estranged wife, Rebecca Bliefnick, was found dead inside her home late last month. The couple had been living apart and in the process of divorce when it happened. The clip of him saying his biggest regret was I do, shaking up the internet. Oh no, it is back, and on a much lighter note, the hot, juicy gossip. This is Vanderpunch Rules Part 4. Last we left off, Ariana Madix was with Tom Sandoval, a video leaked by a Vanderpump Rules castmate showing Tom having an affair with one Raquel Levis. Shiana Shea, another castmate and friend of Ariana, allegedly punched Raquel. She was upset the video was shared online. Ariana knew tonight, though, speaking out. She ended up thanking everyone, friends and family, that had been there for her. She called this time in her life her darkest hours. Tom apologized a week ago. She didn't accept it. And she ends her post with, "What doesn't kill me better run." The reunion's coming up, and people are wondering who will show up to it. And finally, this one's for the Swiftie Swifts. All of the girls you loved before. An unreleased track off Taylor Swift's new album, Lover, is set to drop late tonight at midnight. But that's not all. Swift announced that 4 unreleased tracks are coming out at midnight total. So there's 3 others. What? This is all in anticipation for the Eras Tours that kicks off tomorrow. The other songs are Eyes Open and Safe and Sound. Last one is If This Was a Movie. The excitement is in the air. You can feel it buzzing all around the nation. Excited about the thought of hearing new Muse from Taylor Swift and Preston Dunyan, one of the biggest Swift heads in the world. Are we right on that, Preston?
Hey, I don't know if I'm a good Taylor Swift fan because I kind of am thinking Love Story, not Lover, this new album, so I'm all over the place.
There it is. Yeah.
Maybe I'm 10 years in the past, but I'm not 10 years in the past in the world of weather. I know what's coming next, and it's this series of storms. That's on its way. I'll tell you when that arrives in your First Look forecast coming up soon.
All right, we'll come right back to you, Preston. Big Swift head over there. Also coming up, is the U.S. on the brink of a financial crisis? Or are those 2 recent bank failures just a fluke in our system? We're checking out in a bit. Stick around. Oh, we told you we were telling the truth. We're looking back live tonight. It's National Panda Day. Panda Watch. Here's another live look. The panda that lives at the Smithsonian Zoo. Back in, and it is a girl panda. That's what we have learned. Don't know the name, but a girl panda here. Again, it is National Panda Day. A lot of fun facts. Their biggest threat right now is habitat destruction. This is from the Smithsonian. They say they communicate mostly through scent marking. If you didn't know, they eat what? Bamboo, almost nonstop. And I heard it's delicious. A panda told me that. Pandas can live over 30 years in captivity. Another fun fact. And then finally, newborn pandas are 1/900th the size of their mother when they're born. So a little fun fact to have on Panda Day. I love it so much. All right. On a different note, regional bank stocks starting to bounce back on news of a rescue plan in the works from larger banks. National correspondent at7 has more on that in our cover story of the night.
It's been a week of fallout from the collapse of 2 American banks, a Swiss investment bank teetering on failure, and a brutal week for bank stocks.
Nerves are certainly frayed at this moment.
Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen on Capitol Hill Thursday responding to senators' concerns about how Silicon Valley Bank and Signature Bank collapsed.
Traditional prudential regulation should have caught this.
And to start to address the question on everyone's mind, were these banks isolated incidents, or is there a contagion throughout the banking system that could push more to the brink? Yellen trying to reassure them.
I can reassure the members of the committee that our banking system is sound.
The trouble's also brewing for First Republic Bank, downgraded to junk by S&P Global Ratings and Fitch Ratings. News surfacing Thursday afternoon, it's in talks with major banks about a plan to bounce back. Meanwhile, BlackRock CEO Larry Fink says in a letter to shareholders he thinks banks will pull back lending to protect their balance sheets from the volatility created by the failure of the 2 banks. Yellen says that's exactly what the Treasury is worried about.
We could see credit become more expensive and less available. That could turn this into a source of significant downside economic risk.
That would be tough timing during this slowdown the Federal Reserve is engineering to cool inflation. Everything feels very touch and go at the moment, especially ahead of another potential Fed rate hike next week. But many economists appear confident there won't be a crash.
I don't think this is a time for panic or alarm. This is not 2008.
A different era, still with its own set of risks. On Capitol Hill, I'm Atrel Nashar reporting.
All right, we're getting a sort of break from the rain for a little bit. Should be nice and sunny for a little while. Let's go back to first look forecaster Preston Dunny and tracking that and more. Good evening, Preston.
Good evening, Dylan. Yeah, you talk about that break, and this break is much needed. We've seen flooding concerns, of course, throughout the valley, snow melt in the higher elevations, but all of that is the result of us getting all that rain and bringing our drought monitor down. You can see this just released today. That tan color throughout much of the valley is a moderate drought. The yellow surrounding it is abnormally dry, and then the orange that you see in the northeastern corner of the state is still a severe drought. But this moderate stage hasn't been achieved for, on average, the North States since March of 2020, and take a step down from severe to moderate hasn't happened since March of 2016. So this is big news. We love to see that. And the reason we're doing it is because we have now the 4th wettest water year in the past 10, and that's with still months to go. Again, your water year running from October 1st to September 30th, and we're just 9 inches behind that 3rd place spot, but well ahead of 2019-20. So this is great news. Let's keep it coming, but of course, spreading that rainfall out is the way that we want to do it. Tonight, no rain out there. Temperatures in the 30s to low 40s throughout the valley. You head to the higher elevations, lots of spots in the 20s and even a few teens thanks to those clear skies. Tomorrow, clear skies prevailing at least in the morning, becoming cloudier into the afternoon and evening, but you're looking at about 55 in Trinity Center, 56 in Weaverville. And as we slide further to the east, you'll see a mix of temperatures mostly in the 50s here, about 55 in Bernie, 57 in Shingletown, the warmest of the group. Further into the valley, we're looking at about 67 in Redding and Palo Cedro, as well as Anderson, 66 showing up there in Cottonwood, Red Bluff, and the city of Shasta Lake. And further south, lots of 66 going on up and down I-5. 65, though, along Highway 99, Chico, Oroville, Gridley. You'll see that continuing there. Paradise, 59, though, not too bad for a spring day. I still call it spring, even though it's technically winter. I digress. We're going to see those clouds filter in tomorrow, as I mentioned. Here's 7:30, getting close to sunset. If we can get some breaks in there, could be pretty good looking out there for more chime-in photos. But Saturday morning starting out sunny. It's just a tease, though. We've got more clouds and then rain arriving on Sunday morning. I'll walk you through long-range precision cast now, picking up when that rain arrives. Depending on the model, it's a little earlier, but mostly going to happen while you're still asleep on Sunday, and then continue to be showers and sunbreaks all the way throughout the week into next week. First system rather weak, not bringing us a ton in terms of totals, but we're going to see the kind of remnants or the outer edges of a more potent system swinging to our south, keeping us showery, not heavy rain, but plenty of it throughout the week and into next weekend. Snow levels remaining low. Again, the origin of these systems, not that atmospheric river setup, but rather instead coming from the Gulf of Alaska, keeping it cool and also less potent in terms of that rainfall. Let's take a look at your 7-day forecast. You can see in Chico, showers and sunbreaks all the way through the week, starting Sunday into next week. Temperatures cooling down across the board, bringing us to a high of 55 when that normal high is 66 and maybe even 67 by portions of next week. And in Redding, similar setup, a beautiful St. Patrick's Day, cooling us off and settling down to those 50s, which is our normal high in December. We got to get up to March standards soon, but for now, that's our weather, and we'll be right back.
Good with our moment of the day. A 4-year-old in North Carolina making millions of people do the one thing she can't do. Smile. Take a look.
Your smile is beautiful. Smile. Oh, so beautiful.
Now do it with your teeth. No. No. Don't scrunch your nose. Don't do that. Like this. Now unscrunch your nose and actually smile like upwards.
Oh, that's amazing. Ruby Spickler went viral after her sister noticed that when Ruby tried to smile, she didn't really know how. Her sister and her boyfriend even tried coaching her a little bit, you saw. While they didn't really get anywhere, it made for quite a good laugh. Don't feel too bad. Parents are promising this is a phase most kids end up going through, and they say it's completely normal. She just looks upset. Preston, do the face?
Yeah.
Oh, that's it, Preston.
That's the Ruby smile, yeah. She's looking at the weather ahead. I'm smiling at tomorrow's weather. Nice and good out there. Dylan, can we get the Ruby smile? Oh, we're back to me. All right, we'll save it for later. Temperatures tomorrow in Redding, 67. Chico, 65. Red Bluff right in the middle, about 66. Clouds increasing throughout the day, so it'll be a decent day out there.
All right, I love it. Thank you so much, Preston. All right, stick with us tonight at 10 on Fox 11 ABC. We'll be coming back at you. It's Panda Day. Where'd it go? Did it leave again? Oh, no, there it is. We appreciate you.